Welcome back to Brain Trash. I'm Tabitha.
I'm Maria.
And we're psychiatric nurse practitioners. And we're back with our final episode with John. We're going to unpack some messy, fascinating science behind another topic that is a little dicey right now, which is going to be more of the psychedelic side of things. So we covered cannabis, we covered ketamine, and now we're going to talk a little bit more about the world of psychedelics and rave culture and these types of things. They're making a big comeback, right? There's people all over TikTok trying to do things. I guess the questions that I have about this topic for you, John, would mostly be when a patient comes to me and is like, hey, dude, I tried mushrooms for the first time and I unlocked the secrets to the universe and all that shit. As somebody who has a DEA license and is like, hey, that's illegal, what are some places I can send these people to get evidence-based information without encouraging illegal activity?
Evidence-based information on psychedelics.
That's you, John. You are the resource.
Yes.
So
yeah, and then there's a couple books and there's some stuff I can talk about on that. So if you want evidence-based research, the quickest, most concise way to get there would be watching the documentary How to Change Your Mind on Netflix. Really great introduction to scientific-based psychedelic research, and the perspective on it is from a gentleman who isn't from the psychedelic world. He came from the traditional, conventional idea, psychedelics are bad, lived through the war on drugs and all of that, and came to some really good conclusions. Now, if you want to go deeper, pick up the book. The book is amazing, and it references a lot of studies, mostly done in other countries because psychedelics are illegal, and the DEA doesn't like us doing research to find out good things about them, which is just so wonderful.
Hey, but also there is a lot of clinical trials right now, and there's actually one here that I got some information on recently about just a study looking, I think it's a stage 3 clinical trial that's psilocybin in major depressive disorder, which is really exciting. Is that something, as somebody that lives in more of the gray area that is not, worrying about a license, how excited or not excited are you about what we're seeing with that?
I'm absolutely excited about anything that pushes actual research on psychedelics forward. Some of these studies, the Ibogaine study that they just approved in Texas, is amazing. It's the most expensive study in the world on psychedelics for a psychedelic that most people have never heard of. What's Ibogaine? Ibogaine is from South Africa. It is not fun. It is a very intense experience. 24 hours, have to be under medical supervision to do it. Something like 70% remission for alcoholism for 3 years from one dose. 2 doses, it jumps up to high 80s. It's wild.
Substance use disorders too, right?
Yeah, substance use disorders.
There was a documentary about this 10 years ago that I watched. It was so old, but they were doing this already where they'd send people down to medical facilities down there.
Yeah, you can go do it in Mexico, and hopefully Denver's going to approve it soon, and this Texas study. Ibogaine, I believe, will become the gold standard for PTSD, trauma-related stuff, and it actually, brain injuries. It is showing such incredible ability to rewire, where it's actually stimulating dead parts of the brain and they're coming back. MMA fighters, veterans who were in a bomb or grenade or something like that, it's going to be amazing. So there's that. There's the MDMA trials that unfortunately they kind of botched a little bit, but that's definitely going to be approved in the next couple years. And MDMA is not a true psychedelic, but we always lump MDMA in with psychedelics. MDMA and MDA are actually empathogens or intact. Yeah, empathogens is the main way it would be described as. The psilocybin studies are awesome. And I can't wait. Like, MAPS is an incredible resource if you want to look into some of this research. If you're interested in like psilocybin, microdosing, Paul Stamets, YouTube, any of his books. He's the world's foremost expert on psilocybin mushrooms and psilocybin itself. And I honestly, like, How to Change Your Mind will give you so many different tangents to go on if that's what interests you. One thing I wouldn't do is, watch Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas and be like, I understand psychedelics. I'm going to go take a bunch of LSD. Psychedelics, as just like with the ketamine talk, very, very serious. I mean, these are mind-altering chemicals that truly, psychedelic, mind manifesting. More traditionally, we'd call it an entheogen, accessing God. Those are for the more traditional psychedelics, but people are even lumping ketamine in with that now. Ketamine lasts 45 minutes. People have been using it in the hospital, 45 minutes to 2 hours. People have been using it in medical scenarios for how long? All the way back at least the Vietnam War, yeah. Which is where the term K-hole came from for all you people familiar with ketamine. Traditional psychedelics last 4 to 12 hours. And if you really amp things up, maybe 24 hours. Psychedelics can induce HPPD in people who don't even have a hallucinogen persistent perception disorder. For people who don't even have a predisposition to any type of mental health issue, usually subsides in a number of days. And psychedelics definitely can kickstart any if you're predisposed to bipolar, schizophrenia, anything like that, if you have that in your family history, take this extremely seriously. Talk to your providers. If your provider's like, I don't know anything about psychedelics, find someone who does. This is not ketamine. And as you said, these things are illegal. So they carry a whole nother level of risk if you choose to go down this route. Are there legal ways to do them? Yes. Oregon now has psilocybin retreats. Denver, I think they're very close, if not already, doing psilocybin assisted therapy. You can go to other countries. There are psilocybin mushroom, magic mushrooms retreats all over Costa Rica, Jamaica, Mexico. And if you are really serious and you definitely are looking to have a life-altering experience, a big one, go to South America, do ayahuasca. What I don't recommend, and I'm going to get some flack from this from people in my world, don't go on TikTok and find that random person who's like, I'm a shaman. You should come, I can guide you through this whole ceremony. And no, first of all, there are exceptions to every rule. There are some incredible people in the space who are taking risks for their literal freedom to bring these into the ability for people to access them. There are. Some of those people actually have ancestral lineage with medicine people or shamans. If you, and this is not going to go over well with a lot of people, but if you're white and you were born in America, you're not a shaman. And you shouldn't use that word, and it's cultural appropriation, and you are conveying an idea to a person that you have a spiritual, ingrained understanding of the world that you go into under the influence of psychedelics that you've been training your entire life for. Not you went down to South America and took a 30-day course on being a Shipopo shaman. That's awesome, definitely that person's got a check for me, as I would choose them over someone else. And also, don't be as serious as me. If they call themselves a shaman, it's okay if they also check a lot of the other boxes for going to some of these, unfortunately, illegal routes of doing psychedelics. Sorry.
Well, when we're talking about like some of that stuff too, if somebody, I think this is my biggest thing too, of like knowing that it's illegal and knowing that people are likely getting these through nefarious type of situations because they have to be that way for now.
Mm-hmm.
Something that I will always say is like, hey, if you ever get anything that's in a capsule, let's just have some fentanyl test strips, right? Like if it's a powder and it's in a capsule and some dude sold it to you, let's check that out. But what other things, as somebody who like knows the ins and outs of some of this like underground stuff, what other like safety tips do you have for people so that we can have some like harm reduction as we
Especially
move
like
through
raves and
this?
festivals too on that, because like
Yeah.
those are the places where like you're not going to be able to like sit at a computer and research stuff, but people are also getting it from some rando, right?
Yep. So, first and foremost, if you're a patient, be honest with your provider. Let them know you're going to do psychedelics or you take psychedelics before they prescribe you any medication. Because one thing, there are some really bad combinations with traditional psychiatric meds and psychedelics. And as a provider, if your patient is honestly like 14 up to 30 something, you definitely should be asking them based on, feeling them out. Hey, do you take psychedelics? Have you ever taken psychedelics? Because like the cannabis thing, most people aren't going to volunteer that information. And most people don't understand how dangerous some of these interactions can be. So that's one thing. Raves, parties, getting drugs from your friend. You're in Ibiza and the sunglass guy sells you some Molly, MDMA. You can get purity testing kits. You can get testing kits that will confirm it's the actual chemical you think it is. Bunkpolice.com. Wonderful resource. Absolutely wonderful resource. Cheap, very accurate tests. Get them. If you do powders, period. Fentanyl test strips, always. Always, always, always. If you're doing pressed pills, break off a little chunk. It's not going to make any tangible difference to your experience. Test that. Unfortunately, I have known way too many people who have died from fentanyl because they just were like, oh no, it's drugs. It won't. No, these things are not great. Many festivals now have testing stations. Go to the testing station. Like, absolutely do. If you're lucky enough to live in one of the states like Oregon or Denver or you're in Seattle, grow your own mushrooms. If you can bake a cake, you can grow mushrooms. Then these are safely grown and they're actually psilocybin mushrooms, not some of the random weird stuff that is popping up all over the place right now in the black market underground communities. And if you're going to engage in psychedelics in any setting, rave wise, something like that, just have the buddy system. Make sure you're not there by yourself. Make sure you're there with a friend. Make sure you know what you're taking, the dose you're taking. Try really hard not to mix alcohol and Molly. Not a great idea. But that's something that's so common. And if you are gonna mix, like, be really intentional about it. Don't just go, oh my God, I did a couple lines of Coke and now I'm taking a Molly and then I'm taking some shots of vodka. Like, the illegal world of psychedelics, there's many, many, many people in it who are just the best, compassionate, wonderful people. Illicit chemists take such pride in their work, but it starts getting down the sales network and people start adulterating things, greed, all that type of stuff. Like if it can happen in any industry, it's definitely happening in the black market world of psychedelics. So yeah, that's like one of them. I just want to reiterate though, talk to your provider if you are diagnosed with pretty much anything mental health wise and you are thinking about going on meds or you're on meds.
Yeah.
Almost every long-term negative reaction I have seen from psychedelics could have been prevented.
And this is something we could look at as providers, to look at like, what is your diagnosis? Do you have a family history where like you might have a psychotic disorder that's underlying, right? To be able to predict if these things are risks. And if you're taking like an SSRI, like, you know, are you on Lexapro? Is this going to interact with your mushrooms? If you're going to take mushrooms, is it going to like negate the experience? Is it going to mean you need more of something? Like, how long does it take you to wean off of it? When do you go back on it? What happens after? Like if you have a crash, right? There's just so many factors that need to be considered from the clinical standpoint too. So, I mean, as we've talked about before, like if your provider's not open to it, fuck them. Like go find somebody who will talk to you about it, and we'll go over like the harm reduction risk strategies, because right now it's looking like we're going to have a war on drugs with the Trump administration, and a lot of healthcare professionals might fall into that, and just say like, well, I'm not going to prescribe you anything. And, you know, one recreational adventure might turn into never getting your meds again. So
well, this is also something that's really important as providers for safety planning with our patients. If they're in the rave culture, or you know that they're doing mushrooms and you're not taking into account their medications, there are many people that come to me and they'll say, all my friends said if I'm going to do mushrooms at this show this weekend that I should stop taking my SSRI 3 days before. Now, depending on the half-life of your SSRI, which one you're on, and the status of your mental health, I'm likely not going to recommend that as a great strategy 3 days ahead of maybe doing mushrooms for the first time. That could, in essence, take you to a place that's real bad. Because 3 days off of any SSRI other than Prozac is going to feel real bad anyways. So, you know,
depending
being
on
able to give them guidance on this stuff, I think is important, even though we can't necessarily, you know, I'm not going to condone illegal activity, but
we're not going to let you have serotonin syndrome.
Yes.
Or anything else that's going to happen either. Like if you're going to do it, like let's find the safest way to do it. You know, if you're on 80 milligrams of Prozac and you're like, I'm going to wean off for 2 days and then I'm going to do some shrooms, like that's really, really, really problematic. So lots of things to consider, but
That's also really important with international retreats. They will have like guidelines, stop taking your meds for 2 weeks. 2 weeks isn't enough for some meds. You got to talk to someone who actually knows what they're talking about before you go into even a legal situation. Like in Oregon, your provider should know that you are going to Oregon to do, quote unquote, which it is, legal psilocybin. Some of those clinics, amazing. I actually vet clinics. So if you ever want to go on a retreat, that's something that I would do. Safe, ethical, the whole gamut, and then your personal values so that they line up. Sorry, Maria. I just wanted to...
No, I love that. So that's actually kind of what I was going to mention too. So again, like John can be found on paperflowerpsychiatry.com. You can go right under scheduling, go to Ouroboros, and then you can book a consult with him and kind of discuss your goals, discuss what you're looking for. And then you can move into doing, you know, a longer session if you feel like you feel understood, or if you know what you want and you want to just book the longer session, go ahead and do that. But thank you so much for joining us. Like this was an awesome little like trio of, podcast that we were able to do and get some information out on. So we super appreciate you for joining us finally. And I hope that people like are able to utilize you for all of the cool things that you offer. I know personally I've been able to utilize you for trying to find out what kind of weed I can vape when my kids are asleep and I can calm down. So it's been phenomenal. A+.
Also, like with this being the gray area, knowing that there's somebody to go to that is not necessarily the sales guy at the dispensary that just wants to sell a product, and is not a provider that's saying, well, I can't really say it. You kind of live in this middle area that is really unique. So it's been cool to have you and ask you the questions.
Yeah.
And just so you all know, I cannot give you advice on how to
Obtain
get anything. I don't provide anything.
sell
It's
it.
purely educational and integration based.
Yeah, we don't
That's
sell
it.
drugs. We're not.
But thank you guys so much. This was a lot of fun. And thanks for tuning into Brain Trash.